Hello! So, as promised in the previous video, today I'm gonna be making a little guide on the Elite White Shadow Castle dungeon. I think I've done enough runs by now that I can consider myself knowledgeable in this dungeon. And yeah, I'm gonna be covering some tips and tricks that will help you successfully beat the dungeon. I'll be covering his skills. I'm not gonna be covering all of them since he has like 12 of them, but I'm gonna be covering the main ones that you will experience in the actual game with an example throughout the dungeon. I'll look over the monsters that are best to use here and stuff like that. So basically an all-rounded guide on how to successfully beat this dungeon. So first of all, when should you start doing this dungeon? So as with all other dungeons, except like the Trial of Ascension and Sparks Ascension, I do not recommend joining it unless you can hit the recommended power limit, which will give you the 25% less damage taken as well as 25% more damage dealt. So for this dungeon, the power limit is 290,400. So if you are not able to get this amount of power with your best team that's made for the dungeon, I do not recommend you doing it. And yeah, so after you get that, some team options that could be the best for you. So first of all, this dungeon relies a lot on damage, since if you do not kill the arm that Metus hits the ground with in like 15 seconds or so, you will actually pretty much instantly fail the run, since the damage he deals is insane. So your main goal is to kill the arm. After you kill the arm, the run itself is pretty easy, since you just have to dodge some of his shots and basically sustain the damage he deals. And the damage he deals without the arm is really not that big, so the main goal is to have enough damage with your team as well as your other two team members to do the required damage to kill the arm. So first of all, the most important thing is the defense break effect. This will allow you to do like 50% more damage. So I'll look over the best options. I won't cover nat 5 since a lot of them I do not have, and the ones I do not give defense breaks. So if you do have them, they could be an option for you. For example, maybe this guy does a decent defense break as well as a good kit for the dungeon, but I'm not gonna cover it. I'm gonna cover nat 4s and below. So first of all, the best, by far the best choice is the Dark Harpy or Helia. She's a nat 3. You can actually get her from the selection ticket if you haven't used yours yet. If you do, you can go for another unit, or you can even go for skill ups for her. So just get those 20 pieces and get those extra 2 levels of awakening. So yeah, after her, I'd say Shannon is another decent option. As well as I believe the Dark Inogamis if you have them, since his first skill I believe provides defense break. Yep. So that consistent defense break, these 3 units will most likely provide. So Dark Harpy, of course, by far the best. Wind Pixie and Dark Inagami are decent options. I'd say Inagami is a little better than Shannon, since he also deals massive damage with skill 3. The rest of the units I do not recommend building, since their defense breaks are sort of not in line with the damage, or not damage, the dungeon itself. I'd say the Water Griffon is okayish option, since he does defense break on 3rd skill, and he does do okay damage on the 2nd skill once awakened. So yeah, for the options in the units, those are the most important ones, and of course you'll need some safety. So the first point I want to say is that shields in general are way better than heals in this dungeon. Since the boss applies the bleed effect, your heals will be reduced a little bit, so If you are wondering whether to use, for example, between Konamiya or Bastet, Bastet is by far the better option. In a lot of faster runs, no one actually brings any healers, and you can get away with 2 or 3 Bastets in the team. So, for example, the most common team I use is Bastet, Tiomars, and the Wind Martial Cat. The damage dealers you choose, of course, depends on what you have. Tiomars is a free option, and he's a pretty good damage dealer overall. She will actually land some decent debuffs for increased damage, as well as have a passive which naturally increases her damage. So she's another great option and very frequently used. Other damage dealers depend on you, basically, but you can see a few of them by entering the strategy info. And yeah, as you can see, top options are Tiamat, Naomi for damage, Brandy is another good one, but she's an F5, so of course not everyone will have her. Tasadian is decent since he provides defense buff, defense break, as well. And yeah, other options, as you can see, pretty much everything that was discussed earlier. So yeah, for units, that's about it. Now the strategy itself, I'll go with a pre-recorded run that I did like 10 minutes ago, and basically go along the run and explain each boss attack and what you should do during it. So first of all, quickly want to mention it for the team itself. You will need defense breaks, so make sure that at least one or two, well, not members, but you have one or two defense break options. So for example, in this team, we do have one player with the Helia, so her defense break is by far the best since she also applies that damage taken up effect on her third skill. And the second player does have Vanessa, so her second skill does apply defense break. Vanessa is pretty rare pick, I think that's like the second time I'm seeing it, but she does have some decent buffs on the third skill as well, so I guess since this guy had her built already, he just used it. And yeah, if you have two defense break, you can get away with two damage dealers on your own team. If you do not have enough defense break, make sure to substitute one of your damage dealers with a Helia. I usually swap out my Tiamars for Helia. And yeah, so just make sure that you have like one or two defense breaks. One is pretty, how should I say it, risky, since if you do miss the defense break in one or two of your skills, the run will pretty much instantly fail since the damage you need to do without death break is simply too high. But yeah, once you have your team, you can safely enter. As you can see now, you can even see the bonuses that are applied. So it clearly shows that all three of us are meeting the required power limit, and it is pretty safe to enter. And now for the run itself, so starting here, you can see I just wanted to check that the whole team is coming. The first person that enters the dungeon will instantly get targeted by the boss. So if you are the first person, follow this guide closely. If you are not the first person or you are not confident in managing the boss's attacks, you can try to let someone else go first. But yeah, whenever you enter first, the boss will target you, and it is important that the boss's like circle attacks do not go too close towards the boss. And this is most importantly for cleave users, since your attacks are melee, and if you land two of those circles too close to the boss, you will simply not have any chance to even attack the boss without standing in the circle. So as you can see, once you enter, the other members will get teleported here and you will be getting targeted. Yeah, I had to switch the camera off for a bit as I had some IRL issues here. So yeah, continuing the guide on the dungeon. So basically, you can see the circle that the boss shoots. This circle will remain for around 10 to 15 seconds, if I'm not wrong. And he will shoot like 2 or 3 of them. So as you can see, the circle lands, he instantly shoots another one at me. So he will only target the first person that entered during the first round. And essentially, now we're hitting it. This attack, essentially it will shoot a burst down to the back of the arena. in a straight line that was shot here, it will leave a red mark on the floor, but that mark will only last like 2 or 3 seconds. And if you keep standing on that mark, you will get both defense break and attack break. I believe it is level 2, but each second you stand on it, you get additional 2 levels, so you can get a lot of defense break and attack break, so make sure that you also dodge that. And yeah, just proceeding with the run. As you can see, my unit stood here for like a few ticks, and they all have level 6 attack break and defense break. And the boss shoots another one like that. We're still doing damage to him. He shoots the third one to the corner. As you can see, the circles are starting to disappear. Just before this, you saw that he shot like this circle attack in around this area. It was a big circle attack. Let me see if, yeah, that just happened. This means that whenever he shoots a circle in one side, the arm will be in the other side right after this attack. So essentially, you can prepare your attacks as well as save a little bit of mana. And as you can see, I'm not sure why it's lagging, but wait, why is it lagging so much? Whoa. Okay, maybe a little bit better. Yeah, okay. So he shot his arm here. As soon as he shoots his arm, he becomes invincible and you can no longer do damage to him. During this period, if you do not have any defense break, make sure to buff attack for your whole team. If you do have a defense break, and for example your defense breaker was in the second or third slot, it is good option to switch that unit to your Soul Link slot and spam the abilities using mana. And yeah, essentially once this arm becomes here, it will be a little hard to click it on the battlefield, so make sure to always have this enemy menu open, as you can simply click on here and you will automatically switch focus. As you can see, the defense break and the brand from Helia was landed pretty fast, so we were able to do a lot of damage here. The timer that's left for the attack can be shown here, so it's around 15 seconds or so. But yeah, we beat it way faster than needed. We used around half a time. And yeah, essentially we did a lot of damage. The boss will now start doing his circle attacks and those straight line attacks again. It might choose a different summoner this time. So as you can see, the CM Warrior is now getting targeted. So essentially he moves a little bit to the side. He gets targeted again. This is a good setup as well, as you can still stand right next to the boss and melee him without any problems. So the two setups for the circle attack were perfect. The third hit, the boss decided to focus me, but we still have plenty of space here, so it won't be an issue attacking him further. And yeah, he landed his second arm. Once again, we just switched the targeting from the top left side to the arm and quickly, with level 5 defense break and level 3 brand, knew him down. While the arm is down, you will be receiving a lot of bleeds and a lot of damage, so make sure that you have your shields up. This is also the part why I recommend shields over heals, because first of all, you will be healing twice as much healing power due to the bleeds, and shields will simply, in most cases, will have more strength than the healer unit that you have. So this shield will slowly start ticking down. As you can see, I buffed up the shield at around like 30% HP left, and the other units in my party, or not the units, but the summoner and their units, will be able to heal me up eventually. Even if they don't, it's not that important, since you can just stay shielded for the whole time. And yeah, from there on, it's pretty much the same. After the two initial attacks, or the two initial arms, the boss will rarely shoot additional arms and will instead do this single targeted attack at random enemies. And it actually lasts for a long time, so you can do a lot of damage during it. As you can see, also another thing I forgot to mention is what the circle does. So if you stand in the circle, you will be receiving bleeding effects, I believe. So every time for like half a second or a second you stand in it, you receive additional level of it. You will be receiving continuous damage, so slowly chipping away at your HP, as well as your summoner will start losing mana. So each tick you will lose 1 mana, and basically your soul link won't be able to use your ability. So make sure that at least your summoner does not stand in the pool, otherwise you will be losing on a lot of soul link ability power. And yeah, just the same old circle attacks. I don't know the exact names how they call, but I'll just call how they look. As you can see, the little attack in the cone there was removed, like the red bleeding pool was removed after like 3 seconds. And yeah, the boss is now just regular shooting. You can easily sustain that with a shield. And we'll see how the rest of the run goes. I believe there was one more arm. As you can see, I got targeted there, so I instantly ran away from the boss so that we have at least a little spot to attack here. Since if I do not have a melee spot, I use the water element cleave weapon, so my first skill will be doing a lot of attack breaks and speed breaks, so it is quite important for reducing a lot of that damage. Yeah, here I'm a little stuck since, as you can see, when he attacks from the full left side here and the right side has the circle, it's quite hard to hit the boss from here, and some abilities simply don't reach it. So I was forced to take a pause, and it's better to take the pause than just keep getting hit. Otherwise, you might be drained of HP and mana by the time the arm comes out, and then you won't be useful to your team. But yeah, we're doing damage. I believe the one more arm drops. Yeah, as you can see, the circle attack, and on the other side, the arm is instantly added. Once again, we switch targeting to that arm. I think this one was a little closer since we didn't land defense break for a long time. And the timer, yeah, we just landed the defense break, but I had the ult for some additional damage, and we killed down with around 20% time left. And from here on, you just land the defense break, land the branding, and finish the boss from there. And yeah, the run was decently fast. It's definitely not the fastest, but it definitely was pretty safe since we had multiple defense breaks, and all of the teammates were pretty high power compared to what I've seen. And yeah, so I hope this helped you out with the general strategy for this boss, and I'll see you in the next one.